welcome everybody to the Check Swing podcast with myself and the star of the show, Mr. Coach Santa over there. What's going on, brother?
Greetings and salutations.
Salutations. Of course, as you know, the Check Swing podcast, we talk about all the sports. We're baseball guys, but we talk about all the sports, all the goings ons, all the happenings, and all the stuff that interests us and hopefully interests you. And we just kind of give you our spin on it. But what we do, become immature in the first minute of the show. But what
Yes,
we
man.
do is allow you to give us your opinions, whether it be in the chat, whether it be by phone, or whether it be by email, or whatever the case may be. But if you want to call us, of course, you can give us a call at 669-275-0323. Once again, at 669-275-0323. And we can, discuss some of the things that we're discussing with you right here on the Check Swing podcast. But as every show goes here on New Twist Radio, and of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and suggest us to your friends and your family and your enemies and all that good stuff, and have them subscribe to us as well. Give us a thumbs up and all that good stuff. But like I like to start every show, I like to start every show by saying, "How you been?" So Miguel, how you been, brother?
I have been well, sir, for the first time in 2 weeks, and the first time we've been able to, since we moved into our home, we actually have a bed we can officially sleep in. Because the furniture that we had ordered 2 months ago was on back order. So for the last 2 weeks, we were sleeping on a wonderful air mattress that decided to lose air middle of last week. Me and my wife woke up one day and we were kind of like sunken in the middle. So we were like, how you doing? How you doing? We're not supposed to be here. Um, and it's one of those beds that you can control. It lifts up both ends. Yeah. So
You got a Craftmatic adjustable bed.
something like that.
You still have that? Like, is that still a thing? The Craftmatic. You remember those commercials?
I remember.
That's what you got. The Craftmatic adjustable bed. How come? How is that going for you?
It's going well. It has two settings, TV and snore.
Really? Snore is an actual setting.
Snore, it actually lifts the bed up like maybe what 13, 14 degrees to help you get rid of snoring. And then the TV button is just like, it just has your neck up to the point where you don't have to move your face to watch the television. And then home button is
I'm the guy that gives all the pillows in like the exact perfect position so I can sit up and watch the TV in
you,
bed and not have to do anything special. But um,
you would
I'm
probably
not
just need one pillow.
I'm not mature enough for the Craftmatic adjustable bed because I'm that guy. Yes, I'm 40, but I'm that guy that'll like lay belly down in the bed and see how far I can go with the bed before it starts to hurt me. Like how much I can make it crunch before it starts to hurt me, and I'll lay sideways in it and let it go up and have me like a taco, like a hot dog, and like that. And I'm not mature enough for one of those just yet. So
I
kudos
have.
to you.
Listen, I'll report back in a couple weeks.
When the wife's not home, I bet you're gonna try it now.
Well, I'm at. She's been in Chicago since Sunday, so I have been trying it.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Well, congratulations on that. How you enjoying the new neighborhood, the new house, and all that good stuff?
New neighborhood's good. We know who all the snitches are. No, everybody around us, surrounding us, it's pretty good. We're like right on the outskirts of the city of Baltimore, so it's like city slash county. We're actually paying a city and a county tax, so that's
Oh wow,
Um,
Maryland getting you.
but it's been quiet at night, which is what I have dreamed of in the city. Um, the ride to work has been cut by almost an hour, so you know um,
That's
that
good.
that's good. Yeah. Um, I did encounter my first rat though. It was dead. It was dead, but it was in our trash can. So I don't know how long it has been there. And the rat was that big. It was black. The body was black. The tail was like that long, and it did have a goatee.
Had a goatee. That's
Yeah,
like that from Charlotte's Web.
yeah.
Like
It at least had a 5 o'clock shadow.
that's kind of crazy. Well, if you're new to the Check Swing podcast, of course, like I said earlier, we talk about sports. We're a sports show. We're baseball guys. We're baseball coaches by trade. But we talk about all types of sports. Miguel is a baseball genius. I'm
Close.
more of the basketball guy myself when it comes to the old school stuff. Like Miguel has like all encompassing baseball knowledge. My basketball knowledge is like pretty good, but when you talk about the 90s and 2000 era, it's like that's my era. Um, but either way, we try to do what we can. And at the end of the show, Miguel usually stumps me with giving me a number, a jersey number, and teams, and I have to guess who the person is.
I think I got you tonight, brother.
I usually get it after about 20 minutes of thinking about it. But with all that being said, let me pull the notes back up real quick. I'm sorry.
I think I
Um,
got.
interesting day earlier. I guess it was earlier this week, since today is Wednesday. Interesting day for the Phillies, but for any MLB team that has Angel Hernandez as an umpire, um, I feel like anytime you know an umpire's name in Major League Baseball is never a good thing. And this guy has been in the not in the news, but he's been a topic of discussion in the baseball circles, especially those that are MLB fans. And let me give you a little quick uh, sample of what we're about to talk about. Here's Angel Hernandez umpiring a Phillies game about two days ago, I think it
This was
was.
on Sunday Night Baseball in front of a national audience. Um, that pitcher on the mound, you may not know his name because he actually isn't anybody. Managed to have 14 strikeouts on Sunday night because of these calls.
Now let's for the people that may not be familiar, let's talk about that box that we're looking at. Actually, let's pause the video real quick. Let's pause it. Oh, that's a great spot to pause it too. So, for people that may not be as familiar with baseball has a strike zone. Let me get in the camera because I'm looking at stuff. Baseball has a strike zone. And ideally, like when I teach the game, I teach the strike zone as basically bottom of the chest, like nipple area, maybe a little lower to about the top of the knees and over the plate. The ball has to be over the plate, and that's typically where your strike zone may be. Now, as you when you're a little kid, that's probably what the strike zone is when you're a kid, right? I'm talking about from like 7 years old to probably about 14 per se, right? And then as you get older, it gets a little smaller, right? Per whatever the umpire may be. In this case, as what this video Miguel has pulled up, the strike zone is superimposed on the screen, and anything inside the box is considered a strike, ideally. Now, as we have discussed on this show before, umpires have their own spin on the strike zone. Some may like it a little higher, some may like it a little lower, some may like it a little more inside, some may like it a little more outside. Some are tighter, some are looser, whatever the case may be. Umpires have their own strike zone, but there is uh, somewhat of a guideline of what the strike zone needs to be. Now, in this video, set this up for us, Miguel. What are we seeing here?
So basically, over the course of this game, we're pinpointing some of the calls, and I'll actually just restart it. Um, the missed calls that were made on Sunday Night Baseball. Now, to some, this may look like a strike. Now, this one just you know again, to the naked eye, quick pitch, it looks really close, but then when you actually zoom in, you see how far out of the strike zone these pitches are. Now, based on the tracking for that night, Angel Hernandez was about 85% accurate, which actually, I mean, 85 is technically a B, but he missed 19 calls. There was 19 pitches that he missed. Um, and he rang up 6 to 7 batters on pitches over 7 inches outside of the strike zone. Now, 7 inches Now, in an example there, you can see the catcher physically pull the ball back out of the strike zone into the strike zone, and then there you have the three-dimensional strike zone, plain as day, showing that these pitches are outside. And of course, the Phillies were getting frustrated, yelling things from the dugout, and the Brewers were doing the same thing. And again, this pitcher on the mound, this is the worst pitch of the night.
Oh my goodness.
That was the worst pitch of the night. But for those that are looking for the opportunity to justify the computerized strike zone, I think this is a prime example. There were 26 strikeouts between both teams on Sunday night. 26. Final score was 1-0. This is not what fans pay to see.
Now,
Absolutely not what fans
if
pay to say.
MLB has any type of, everybody feels like there's some type of kind of conspiracy in sports. If the MLB has any control over this, now all umpires, how I understand it, all umpires eventually will be behind the plate. There's an umpiring crew. They work together, and there's always one that through a series they'll switch up, they'll rotate.
Mhm.
The MLB, now this was a nationally televised ESPN Sunday Night Baseball game, the one
Mhm.
that you're showing here. The MLB, if they have control over things, they would never have him do a nationally televised game again if they're smart and if they have that kind of control, which I feel like they should. Um, but now, as I say that, I'm thinking like, well, maybe there could be the MLB wants him to do a nationally televised game now because now his name is out there and people want to see how bad this guy may be. Either way, the umpire should never be the topic of the game.
Correct.
In any sport, the referee, the official should never be the topic of the game. And it seems like in this situation, the referee, the umpire became the topic of the game. And we've seen in other instances where the umpire has pretty much wanted to be the star of the show. I forgot the guy's name. I'm sure you probably remember the guy's name that kind of made himself the star, tried to make himself the star of any baseball game he was in. Do you remember the umpire's name, Miguel?
There's actually the two that come to mind are Joe West, Cowboy
Joe.
Joe West, who
Right.
retired from baseball after 120 years, and oh my goodness, I see his face all the time. Joe West and oh, I just had his name.
Sorry,
Yeah.
if it comes back to you,
He
we'll.
has that stupid face.
Well, I feel like any umpire, any referee, any official that ends up being the story of the night, let it be like not anything tragic, i.e., um, was that Dennis Gregg when he kind of collapsed that one time, and
That
that
was
that's something totally different.
that was John
Eric
McSherry, the
Gregg,
one the one
Eric Gregg.
wait you the one that collapsed and died.
Yes,
That was John McSherry.
that wasn't the black umpire.
Greg did pass away, but remember I want to say late 90s the umpires went on a pseudo strike or lockout, and then the MLB hired scabs basically, and then the umpires decided to come back, but Eric Gregg did not. Or I'm sorry, Eric Gregg was one of the umpires that was not offered a job back. And
Ah,
then he wound up being on WIP and refereeing the Wing Bowl for a couple years, and tragically, he died of a stroke early 2000s. But he was not an umpire at that time. But the umpire you're talking about is John McSherry. He was the
John
one that, yeah, he passed away opening day 1996. It was Reds
anytime
versus
an umpire outside of something tragic like that, and anytime something tragic like that happens, it's just that's terrible. But the umpire, referee, official, whatever the case may be, should never become the story. Angel Hernandez became the story of the week, and I've seen TikToks about him. I've seen all types of stuff about him. Um,
Well, remember he was suing Major League Baseball for the last couple years in regards to he's accusing Major League Baseball of discriminating him from umpiring in the postseason and the World Series. Keep in
I
mind,
wonder
which,
why, Angel.
huh?
I said, I wonder why.
Yeah, yeah,
I wonder
and
why. Sounds looks like it's a good reason for it.
but it's the other issue is the umpires union is pretty strong, so that's why you're not going to see relatively anything happening. And I was watching, I can't remember what I was watching or reading or listening to, but somebody had said, or no, it was another podcaster that I was listening to, and he was saying that back in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, what they would do sometimes is that if there were heated rivalries, that in order to kind of squelch any fighting or anything like that, they would actually purposely black out games to keep the heat from coming. So his idea was any game that Angel Hernandez umpires should be blacked out. I mean,
I,
it's just it's I mean it's ridiculous that you would have to even consider something like that, but he was trying to think of like a consequence that would either force Angel Hernandez to get better or to keep attention away from Angel Hernandez and Major League Baseball. I think that's what he was kind of trying to come up with. But
well, I don't want to make this show all about Angel Hernandez because honestly I don't think it's worth it. It's not worth our time or anybody's watching time.
but I
But
mean, it kind of like coincides with the argument about the computerized strike zone and
which is where I
whatnot.
wanted to go. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, the computerized strike zone. Are you for it?
I'm for it every time Angel Bob Davidson. That was the other umpire. Bob Davidson was the
Okay.
yeah. He's been in the league too long too, or I think he actually recently retired. Um, I think you have to do an eval of how bad is this situation. Like until Angel Hernandez on Sunday night, I don't believe that the umpiring has been terrible per se, but there's just been instances, you know what I mean? And usually the last few years, especially, it surrounded Bob Davidson, Joe West, and unfortunately Angel Hernandez. And there's one or two other umpires that are like just as bad in situations or in spots. But for the most part, those are the three names that people have been talking about for years. Um, and look what happened with Joe West. He managed to umpire an extra 13, 14 years after he really became bad. And same thing with Bob Davis. And so I think short of firing these guys and finding them, um, and I think that's the thing too. Like the Major League Baseball doesn't publicize umpires or officials getting disciplined at all. Because Bob Davidson, there was an incident where Papelbon was coming off the mound and he was yelling at him and he got kicked out. And Joe West actually took both hands and grabbed him by the jersey and kind of like pushed him off the field. You can't touch a player. You know what I
Joe
mean?
had a two piece on the biscuit that day.
Right.
Don't put your
Uh,
hands on.
and I believe he actually was fined for that, and it was public. But other than that, you don't really hear too much about because umpires are supposed to.
Well, you know what? That's probably a good thing that they don't publicize that. And I'm going to get back to the question: should it be computerized? Because if you publicize umpires getting disciplined and all like that, you kind of think of it as a good thing in a sense, but really now they become a target now
Mhm.
once it's publicized. Now they become a target of players. Now they become a target of fans. Um, and the umpires, while they are a part of the game, they are not the game.
Correct.
And you don't go to I don't know anybody. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I don't know anybody goes to a game to watch the umpire. Now we've seen like little kids go dressed up as umpires because they like umpires, whatever the case may be, whatever. Cute. No, I'm going to say 99.9% of grown people, of adults, don't go to baseball games to see the umpire.
Yeah, if a child goes to a baseball game dressed as an umpire, they probably go to private school.
It's very possible.
I'm
That's
sorry.
very
No
possible.
offense to private schools and umpires or aspiring umpires. No offense.
I'm no stranger to bad umpires.
No, we're not.
You know, I coached in the conference known as the Del Val, and I'm probably putting a target on my back now, my team's back now. But there are some good umpires in the Del Val. Don't get me wrong, but there are some really really bad ones. Some
Yeah,
really
I'm nervous about
bad ones
umpiring.
retired 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they just get worse and
Yeah.
worse and
Well,
worse.
I think too. There's a shortage, so it's like I'm wondering if the training is they're cutting corners on the training because they need all these umpires.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is a shortage, a national umpire shortage, which I never thought I'd hear that ever, but yeah, it's a national umpire shortage. So if you want to be an umpire and you want to make a couple dollars and you in the baseball, go become an umpire. They need them. Miguel, real quick, yes or no, and explain why. Computerized strike zone. Too much silence.
I'm 50-50. I mean, uh, the umpires should be better, and but at the same time, it's like I don't know if it would be fun or entertaining if a game is too perfect, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like a baseball player in big games, sometimes they strike out, sometimes they make errors, sometimes they throw the ball into the stands. It's like I think when it comes to balls and strikes, I think having the human element, you know, I missed the argument. You know what I mean? I miss the traditional umpire coming. I mean, a manager coming out and just throwing stuff and kicking the dirt, and you don't see that as much anymore. Only pretty much only when there's pitches thrown at people's heads, which has happened a lot this season so far. Um, but I think from an entertainment aspect, I'm still hesitant on it.
I say no computerized strike zone. It takes away the human element out of the game. It A computerized strike zone makes creates robots in a sense. And if umpire has a bad strike zone, it's hard to adjust to. If umpire has a consistent bad strike zone, you
If
can
he's
adjust.
if he's consistently inconsistent,
No, not even consistently inconsistent. If he's consistently 3 inches off, 3 inches up, 3 inches down,
see,
you
but
can adjust.
I can deal with that if it's consistent. Like if you're
If it's
gonna live,
right, if they just have a big strike zone, it's
I'm cool
consistent.
with that.
They always call a high strike. You can adjust to that.
Mhm.
7 inches off the plate, 4 inches, like that's if they're inconsistent with the bad calls, they have to be better. But ain't nothing better than seeing somebody get punched out by an umpire. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't hit people that know baseball know what I mean. Getting punched out, strike three. Nothing better than that.
nothing
Nothing better
better.
than sports. That's the only time an umpire referee in sports is the star of the show on a punch out.
Yeah.
It's the only time.
I want that umpire that does the flips and the karate chops and the wrestling moves. I want that dude to be an umpire.
So let's move on a little bit because we are in the NBA playoffs. We were going to talk about the Phillies heating up a little bit, um, which they are. Bryson Stock gets sent back down. It's funny we always bring up somebody that ends up getting sent down, but let's talk about the NBA playoffs a little bit. All right, and in particular, let's talk about the Sixers because that's our hometown team. So we're going to talk about them. Once again, hit us up. You got an opinion on what we've been talking about? 669-275-0323. I'll say that a little slower for those that don't listen that fast. That's 669-275-0323. And I also believe the number is going to be down there at the bottom of the screen scrolling. Y'all see that scrolling over there. I believe it's on the bottom of the screen. Actually, it's not. So I'll put it down. I'll put it down there at the bottom of the screen. There you go. Sixers started out in the NBA playoffs on fire. Three straight wins. Struggled in one of them. Blew them out in two of them. And then kind of hit a roadblock. Now they've lost two straight, going to Toronto for game six, and they're trying to figure some things out. Doc Rivers coming under fire, James Harden coming under fire, Joel Embiid playing with I don't know what's going on with the ligament, torn ligament, lacerated
In his
ligament,
stomach, yeah, in his
messed up
stomach.
ligament in his hand. Personally have never had a torn ligament that I know of, but I've had some stretched ligaments, or I don't even know how. Just from dislocating my thumbs and playing, it's not easy to play with, especially a sport where you have to use your hands. It's not like soccer where you ain't got to. Um, Miguel, I know that you are not the biggest NBA fan because you feel like it's gotten soft. But what are your thoughts on the Sixers and their playoff prowess this year?
Well, I think some of the what we were told about when the trade happened for Harden, as far as his inconsistency shooting because he's shooting really poorly right now. Um, even his normal stop drop step whatever he's not consistent with it. And I think the fear that we all had in the beginning is when Embiid is injured or he's hurt or he's just not himself, it usually is a domino effect for the entire team. And of course, Doc Rivers is feeling the pressure because he was even asked you know, in an interview about his history of blowing 3-1 leads because I believe it's three. 'Cause, he talked about he had a team in Orlando, Detroit, and the Clippers, and when the coach is trying to justify why he or why those teams lost, being up 3-1, it's just not a good look. So I think there's some nervousness. I believe there's a long layoff too, right? Because they played last night. No,
Monday.
they played Monday, but it's like they don't play again for another.
Well, they play tomorrow.
They play tomorrow, so that's what a
Yeah,
3 or 4 day.
yeah.
So I know basketball playoff schedules are kind of funky, but this
Especially,
may
especially in the first round.
right. I think that this is going to help the Sixers. I really do. If it was a straight up, you know, travel day then play, travel day then play, I think I'd be a little bit more concerned. But I think any day off for Embiid at this point is going to help. It may even help Harden too, because the stress of being up 3-0, 3-0, and then losing to, you know, and being on the wrong end of history is looming. And I think having those extra days off, it could only help physically and mentally. So, but at least we're not the.
But I'm thinking the other way. I'm thinking that extra day off gives them another day to hear about everything that's been going on, another day to taking questions from reporters about Doc Rivers 3-1, James Harden not playing like you expect him to play, MB not defending the way he usually defends. It's another day of seeing, hearing, and stuff like that, and it's like, does it get on your nerves or does it actually take an effect? Like, are you able to use that in a game and shut everybody up, or are you going to wither under the pressure? Um,
It
Doc
depends
Rivers
on.
has been a decent coach his entire career. He's got a championship. He has one NBA championship. Has he been to two? I don't think he was. No, he hasn't been to two. He's been to one as a coach, and he's won. No, he's been to two. I think he's been to two. I think he won one, lost one. Now to think about it, he won one against the Lakers and he lost one against the Lakers. Same with the same squad, basically. Um, but in those two finals appearances, those teams had Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and a supporting cast that was unreal. This team has Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey. And and Tobias Harris for lack of a better term. I'm saying somebody's name is lack of a better term. Anyway, um, he's got the weapons to work with. But when I talk to people, that have played the game, and they really feel like Doc as a coach just does not, in these situations, he's just not good. He's not good at making the adjustments. When coaches figure out what he's doing, he doesn't make the proper adjustments to fit his team. Um, I believe the Sixers will win the series. I lose confidence in every loss that they have. I don't believe that they are a championship team this year. I didn't believe they were a championship team last year. I feel like part of James Harden's struggles, and I'm actually hoping that part of James Harden's struggles are the fact that he has a lingering hamstring injury.
Mhm.
Anyone, anyone that has ever had a hamstring injury knows it's not easy to to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, I had a hamstring injury playing college ball. I was playing catcher. Um, Actually, I think when I actually pulled the hamstring, I was running. I was running the first base when that happened. And as I'm running the first base, boom, my hamstring pops, pow, and it just felt like the leg was out of control. Um, I stayed in the game because I didn't want to come out of the game, so I stayed in. I really didn't say much about it. I was playing catcher, and it was very difficult. Um, and riding home on the bus that day, it was painful.
Hmm.
Just walking around, getting up, doing regular stuff is very painful. So I can imagine going out and playing basketball on a professional level in the playoffs. You're talking about the best of the best out here. It's got to be taking a toll. And I'm hoping that come next season, James Harden's leg will be 100% healthy, being that same, you know, assuming that he resigns with the Sixers. And then maybe we'll see the James Harden that everybody's looking to see at this point in his career. Um, do they lose the series, Miguel?
I think the days off will help from the injury standpoint. Um,
I agree.
although although that hammy, I too tore my hamstring my sophomore year of high school. I was rounding third heading the home, and I felt that exact same thing you were talking about. And I remember that I stayed out for about 2 or 3 weeks. It started to get better, and I actually pulled it two more times because I kept coming back too soon. So, just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, when it comes, there's always this argument: what's worse, a pull or a tear or a break? I think those pulls are the worst because it takes a long time to recover from. And Harden was out for a couple months, wasn't he? Prior to coming to the Sixers.
He was. I don't think he was out consistently
Right.
for a couple months, but he was dealing with it for a couple months.
Right.
He
So it's like
a game or two and sit out. And even when he came to the Sixers, he sat out with the Sixers for at least a week.
right. He didn't come, right away, but he was on the bench, other than
He actually showed up to support his team.
right.
Can't say that for everybody. And you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about now. I'm going to shift the conversation into somebody that people in Philadelphia just adore and just admire. This guy, of course, we're talking about the one and only Ben Simmons. Has been a topic of conversation amongst social media circles and NBA circles and sports circles in general. There's been a lot of comments about him. I'm sorry, my eyes are really itching right now. I don't know what's going on.
Are you
Um,
having an allergy attack?
I don't know if I'm having an allergy attack or if my eyeballs are just dirty. I really don't know. But um, my glasses are pretty dirty. But Ben Simmons. So for people that might have been under a rock for the past time, we all know Ben Simmons started off the season as a Philadelphia 76er in the summertime. Basically, long story short, said he didn't want to play for the Sixers anymore. Had a litany of reasons why: mental health issues, injury issues, um, hurt feelings issues, whatever the case may be. A lot of people have been talking about him. He's been getting a lot of flack. Some people feel like it's deserved. Some may feel like it's not. But he sat out this entire season, did not play a second of basketball for the NBA this year. His team that he plays for now, which I'm just going to put this out there, I feel like he believes that that it's his team. But just by the comments that he made, some comments he's made in press conferences, he believes. Well, his team just got swept, 4 games to none by the Boston Celtics. Which, as a Sixers fan, I was kind of rooting for the Celtics, but it's hard to root for the Celtics. Like
It is.
you just can't root for the Celtics as a Sixers fan, right? But I feel like it's a new day of new rivalry. So Sixers Celtics rivalry, 60s, 70s, 80s, um, the height of it. 90s, there really wasn't much of a rivalry there. 2000s, it got a little bit stickier. I think the Celtics put the Sixers out of playoffs one time in the 2000s. And then late 2000s, 2010, and a couple. Anyway, it's not about the Celtics. It's about Ben Simmons and some of the flack that he's been getting. Miguel, I remember we had a show a few months back, and you kind of went on Ben Simmons yourself.
I did, and I think it was before they his team or his PR team came out with the mental health defense. Now, this is kind of like where I have to kind of soften up a little bit because if it is indeed true that he's dealing with the mental health issues that he's stating, then yeah, we do all kind of have to reserve judgment and everything like that. But it's just it's hard to judge when you see the behavior. Um, because I think one of the first things after the end of last season, the way it ended, he's going down Hollywood Boulevard with a Kardashian, talking about, I'm shopping at Tiffany's and stuff like that. So it's like when you see that behavior, it's like, that's jerk behavior. You know what I mean? Um, and there's some people that are also out there defending him. Like one Jamie Foxx um has come to his defense and actually went at the neck of a very popular or unpopular, or I don't know what you want to call him. What'd
Let's
you
call him,
say?
let's call him prominent. You're talking about
Prominent.
Steve, right?
Yeah. So Stephen A. Smith didn't really mince words, and I'm quoting directly from him. He said Ben Simmons might also be the weakest, most pathetic excuse for a professional athlete we have ever seen in not just American history, but the history of sports. I can't think of a professional athlete that has come across more pathetic than this man. Ben Simmons might be also be the weakest, most pathetic excuse for a professional athlete we've ever seen. I can't think. I'm just reading the same thing. So Jamie Foxx came to his defense. He says that is completely unfair. Ben Simmons has a family. This man has people that love him, and this man just plays basketball. But to be dragged through the mud like this is unfair. And why is it, Stephen A. Smith? You only go at basketball players. You completely are mute when it comes to the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers of the world. You get where I'm going. Stop it, bruh. It's out of bounds. Um, I think I was where Stephen A. Smith was again a couple months ago before the mental health issue came up. Another story I read was that Ben Simmons. It was announced that Ben Simmons was going to play in either Game 3 or Game 4, and they did the Rev Up program for him the last 2 weeks, and from what all the accounts are, no pain. He was flowing. He was shooting. He was defending. Da 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 da. Da. And then there was a report that right before game time, Game 3, um, he started having back soreness. So allegedly, there was this meeting between Ben Simmons' team, Ben Simmons, what's his agent's name, Chris Paul.
Rich Paul.
Rich Paul. I was messed that up. Between Rich Paul, Steve Nash, and management. And in this alleged meeting, Ben Simmons admitted that when he has this anxiety about what happened at the end of last season, he starts to feel this pain. Um, and again, coming from the health aspect of it, I've witnessed some things like that. Not from from an athlete and from a non-athlete. Like they just start. It's almost like some people when they get stage fright, they start cramping up or they get an upset stomach, stuff like that. It's just like nervous energy. But I have witnessed with my own eyes on a personal level when there's an anxiety or an event or a traumatic experience, if you will. And some people may call it a triggering event. And then, a person will go back in time and relive that event. You know what I mean? So it is a real thing, but I'm hoping and I'm praying that it's not a ruse. Because me and a buddy of mine were going back and forth, and they're of the opinion that he just doesn't care to play basketball. He's just all about the money, and he's doing everything to avoid the court to really just sit back and cash this check.
So
That's another side to it.
let me start off with the Stephen A. comments. So Stephen A. gets paid a lot of money to voice his opinions and report and have his reports. Stephen A. is the equivalent of a shock jock in radio. He's the equivalent of a Howard Stern. He's the equivalent of a Wendy Williams. He's the equivalent of a I hate to say that he's the equivalent of a Don Imus, and I mean for the shock value of what they say.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like Stephen A. went a little far with those comments that you read,
Mm-hmm.
calling a man pathetic, calling a man the worst excuse for a profession, whatever he was saying. Um, Now these are his opinions, and and he gets paid a lot to voice these opinions. Um, we don't know. 99.9% of the people on Earth do not know really what's going on with Ben Simmons. Okay, let's be honest. We all have our opinions of what's going on. I'll state my opinion in just a little bit, but in reference to Jamie Foxx's comments, yes, he does have a family. I don't think he has any kids or anything like that, but he does have, he has a mother, father, sister, brother, whatever. He has people. Um, Once you become, and it's unfortunate, but once you become a public figure, and I'm sure Jamie knows this as well as anyone else. Once you become a public figure, you open yourself up to public scrutiny. Some will be more harsh than others. We had an incident recently with Will Smith, and everybody had an opinion on that. You have opinions with O.J. Simpson. You have opinions with whatever the case may be. Um, are some of the things that are being said harsh? Yes, they are very harsh, and some of them unfair. I personally feel like yes, some of them are unfair. And I am a Sixers fan. I'm a Philly fan, so we Philly fans feel scorned us in a sense by Ben Simmons. Um, my opinion on it on the whole issue. There sometimes I'm of the opinion that he doesn't really want to play ball. I was of the opinion that he doesn't want to play ball here. Um, I was under the feeling that he wanted to play ball in LA, be somewhere to be a star. Um, but when I think about some of the things from the past, when he was at LSU, there were stories that he wasn't really that team guy at LSU. He kind of pretty much went to LSU because he had to. Didn't make the tournament at um, at LSU. And I'll be honest, I don't know many I don't know many first number one draft picks that didn't make the tournament that were in college. Um, I'm sure there are probably another one, but usually you're a number one pick you because you showed up and showed out in the tournament as well as all year long. He basically got what became a number one pick based off of potential. That being said, the criticism of a lot of criticism of Ben Simmons are a bit unfair. If he does have the anxiety, the mental health, this anxiety is real, man. That
It
is
is.
that's real, and maybe it is the thing where I gotta get back on the basketball court. My back is hurting. It might be a mental thing, whatever the case may be. And when I say maybe a mental thing, obviously it is, right? But I'm saying is mentally getting back on the basketball court is causing him to have these pains in other places in his body. Um, we know that he is a big time gamer. We know that he has a gaming channel and he's on Twitch. Now I don't know if he's been doing it since he's been out of the out of the game, but that's something he loves to do, and it's stress free in a sense. It's a lot more stress free than playing basketball in the NBA. I tell you that, especially in Philadelphia. Um, but I feel like a lot of it is unfair to Ben Simmons. I feel like he's going through what he's going through, and there is a part of me that feels like he doesn't want to play basketball, but he does like the lifestyle that basketball affords him. Um, and since he's not a Sixer, I don't hope he comes back good, but I would like to see him back on the basketball court just for his sake, just because that's the type of person I am. But I don't want him to do well unless he's playing against Boston or so. I don't know. I don't want to see him do well because he's not a Sixer now. So anybody's not a Sixer, I don't really care if they do well or not. That's my opinion on it. That's the long version of my opinion on it, I guess. I don't even know my opinion through clearly, but that's where I am with it. 669-275-0323. Call us with your opinions on Ben Simmons and what you think of that whole situation. And is Stephen A too harsh? Do you think Stephen A was harsh, Miguel?
To call somebody pathetic, I think is a bit much. I try never to go after the person as a human being. Um, again, you kind of go by what they show you, in real time and stuff like that. Um, again, if this mental health thing is the real deal, then yeah, we got to back off. We got to honor that. But it's hard. It's hard because it's you got a lot of people protecting them, and I think we're starting to see why Brett Brown handled him the way that he did. I think it was more out of protection for him because remember, he came into a perfect situation. Brett Brown knew his dad for decades, right?
Yep.
So kind of some nepotism going on, and I was actually talking to a Brooklyn Nets fan at my job, and he was like, it doesn't seem like he was ever told no growing up, and it's starting to show. So now that there's things that are like, damn it, you got to do it. It's like, well, no. And then there's an anxiety that grows because again, he doesn't know how to dig down deep for that, as mankind used to say, that testicular fortitude, um and to get that out. He just, he's used to just kind of going with the flow, doing him, showing his talent, but then that's it. So he would be a prime example of what a showcase player is, but not a winning player.
I feel like he's going through something known to me because I just created it. Spoiled kid syndrome. Okay. Spoiled kid syndrome is like you said, he's never been told no, he's never been told about himself. He's been put up on that pedestal. Now that pedestal has gotten a little bit equal to your peers,
Mhm.
right? And maybe for the first time in his life, he's got to show and prove to what he is, right? Middle school, high school, college. He's been, oh, this is the guy that's going to be, he's next. He's the next guy. He's this, he's that. Oh, don't worry about it because when he gets to the NBA, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Now it became time to show and prove. And he's having a hard time doing it. And he's probably, this, I don't know him. It could be the first time he's had a hard time on the basketball court in his life, especially on this stage. Absolutely on this stage because he's never been an NBA player before this life, as far as I know.
I blame the Kardashians.
And on top of that, he's in the spotlight. He's in the public spotlight because he's Ben Simmons. People know who he is. You don't become associated with the Kardashians in this day and age without being somebody in your field. Like you don't see a Kardashian with a nobody. You just don't. That being said, I think it's time for Miguel to try to stump me. What you got for us? What you got for me today, Miguel? Hall of Fame, three-time NBA champ, 1993-94 all-rookie team. It's all-rookie team, not rookie of the year. And 95-96 sixth man of the year. I'm guessing these teams are Portland,
Nope.
Toronto,
Nope.
Chicago,
Yes.
Milwaukee.
Yes.
It's Tony Kukoc.
You're on a roll, man.
And he played for the Sixers as well. Oh, there you go. He played for the
Yes,
Sixers.
and he was traded with.
Hold on. When you say he was traded with, are you saying to or from what team are you talking about?
Well, he was traded the year of the finals. He was traded with.
Bill Ratliff?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't remember.
They were
Oh,
traded.
to the Hawks. Right.
Yeah, traded to the Hawks. Yep.
Yeah. Theo Ratliff. I mean, Tony Kukoc. There you go.
Yeah, 3 in a row, man.
That actually wasn't one of the easier ones, but I remember when I remember it was when I saw the Bucks, and I kind of at number 7. He's like one of the only number 7s in basketball that I really know.
Yeah, and when I look back on that team again, I know Theo broke his hand that year, wrist, and didn't play the rest of the season. I love Tony Kukoc. You know what I mean? Because he was a shooter, he played great defense. I just wanted to like imagine if Tony Kukoc was on that team against the Lakers. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Because again, when you traded for Mutombo, you went 500 the rest of the way, and every series went the full 7, except for the championship. So I'm like, man, if we just had one more shooter outside of Iverson, I don't know. I think it would have been different.
Miguel, are you ready for your 6 questions?
The answer is O.J. Simpson.
It might be. Actually, they probably don't even put OJ as a trivia question in any of these. But as I close out the phone lines, thank you for everyone that called.
The
Here we
power
go.
of possession.
Who became the first NFL quarterback to throw for more than 5,000 yards in a single season in 1984?
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino is correct. Numero 2-0.
Why do I always get like 7 questions and you only get the one?
Because they're easy.
They're not easy.
Especially when they're like baseball and football. For you, they're easy.
Okay.
I don't give you 6 basketball questions or mascot questions.
You can throw some hockey in there. You can throw some
mascot topic in here.
I don't know.
Number 2. Which of these NFL quarterbacks was not picked first overall in the NFL draft? Troy Aikman, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre.
Not picked first.
Was not picked first. Not picked first overall.
Would it be that Brett Favre?
That would be correct. Ding, ding a ling. I kind of switched up the order of the multiple choice because
I
every
said,
time
there's
multiple
this
has
there's
been
a
the
song
answer, you've gotten it.
there's a
But
song called My Dingaling. That's what I was laughing at.
yes, there is. There is a song. And there's a club, a Baltimore club version of that song, and you've probably heard it since you
No,
Googled.
I'm going on YouTube to find it immediately.
Uh, okay,
You
I'll,
have it?
I'll play it for you after the show. All right. Which player came off the bench to replace Joe Theismann when he suffered a career-ending injury in 1985?
Uh,
You hold on. You want to go to answer? I got multiple choice for you.
I want to say Jay Schrader.
I'll give it to you. Jay Schroeder is correct. It could be Schrader, but it looks like Schroeder. But you are correct.
Oh yeah,
I
right.
would have
It's
got this
Schroeder.
one wrong.
Huh?
I would have got this one wrong. I would have said Doug Williams.
Doug Williams was 2 years later. He was in the
So
Super Bowl 2 years later.
that's why I would have got it wrong. So this question I think is no longer valid. So I'm not
Uh-oh.
going to ask you because the right answer isn't even on here anymore. But the question is, how many regular season games are played during an NFL season?
Uh,
And the multiple choice answers are 12, 14, 16, and 18.
right. That doesn't. It would have been 16, but
According to this, it's 16, but we know that's no longer the case.
right.
Here we go. Which team scored 606 points in 2013 to become the first NFL team to surpass 600 points in a regular season in the regular season? Well, that's a tough one. Mm, I've
Uh,
never I didn't even know like that was a thing, but I'll give you the multiple. You need multiple choice?
2013. I'm trying to think who won the Super Bowl that year, or what the playoff schematic was that year. Damn it! I
Don't
dropped my ice again. Um, can't even think. No, go
I'll
ahead.
give you
Yeah.
I'll give you the multiple choice. The Dallas Cowboys, the Green
Hell
Bay
no.
Packers, the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots.
Ooh, Broncos.
Broncos is correct.
That was
That's
Peyton Manning. Got it.
was that Peyton Man? That was a
I think
Peyton Man.
that was one of the final ones. I think that might have been the one that
I think that's the year they won the Super Bowl.
yeah.
That was good. I would have selected the New England Patriots only because I couldn't remember what year they went undefeated, and I would have just assumed it was that year with Randy Moss.
I think that was '08 or oh. I think it
It
was
was
'08.
definitely before 2013. All right, last and final question: which team played Alabama for the NCAA championship 3 times in 6 college playoff finals from 2015 to 2020? I'll give you the multiple choice. You'll get it right away. Do you want it?
Was it Ohio State?
It's not Ohio State, but Ohio State was one of the multiple choice answers.
Is it a red team?
No,
Really?
really.
Okay, give me the possibilities.
Okay.
I need the
Louisiana
possibilities.
State, also known as LSU, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson.
Clemson.
That's correct. See that eliminating red is it a red team answer question really narrowed it down there.
Right, because I was thinking LSU, but I was like, they were good, but they didn't. Right, and I was like, okay, Clemson, because now I remember because of our almost friend in Philadelphia, Mr. Deshaun Watson.
Sean Watson, what's my man in Jacksonville now?
Fournette.
No,
No,
the
he was
quarterback. Trevor Lawrence,
Lawrence, yeah, yeah.
Jacksonville. Excuse me. So yeah, good times. Good
Yeah, man.
times. Look, it's about that time for us to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all checking out the Check Swing Podcast. And once again, make sure you follow the Check Swing Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. And also check out and follow and subscribe to New Twist Radio, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Oh, please, please, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Lost my train of thought real quick. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. Pass us around. And, really give us that outstanding push that we need and we appreciate every single time that we get it. For Miguel Sanda and myself, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all checking us out. We'll talk to y'all next time on the Check Swing Podcast while I delay and try to get my graphics together. Talk to y'all next week, y'all. Peace.